Assalamualaikum dan selamat pagi, anda bersama saya Nabilah, Khaleeda, dan ini AWANI. Seperti biasa pada jam ini kita akan berikan laporan berita bisnes kewangan ekonomi dalam dan juga luar negara. Namun kita akan mulakan dengan perkembangan belanjawan 2026 di mana yang diumumkan dengan matlamat utama untuk menyeimbangkan antara disiplin fizikal dan juga pembangunan ekonomi rakyat. Dan dalam suasana ekonomi global yang mencabar, kerajaan berdepan tekanan untuk memastikan setiap ringgit dibelanjakan itu memberi impak berganda kepada ekonomi sebenar. Jadi tumpuan diberikan kepada sektor bernilai tinggi seperti R&D, tenaga bersih dan juga perusahaan kecil sederhana PKS. Namun persoalan utama kekal, bagaimana kerajaan boleh mengekalkan disiplin fiskal sambil nak memastikan pembangunan benar-benar menyentuh kehidupan rakyat. Jadi bersama kita hari ini ialah Dr. Muhammad Afzal Nizam Abdul Rashid, Ketua Ekonomi di Bank Muamalat Malaysia Berhad untuk mengupas sejauh mana belanjawan 2026 ini berjaya mencapai keseimbangan antara pertumbuhan dan juga kebertanggungjawaban fiskal. Jadi doktor, soalan pertama saya adalah berkenaan dengan disiplin fiskal dan juga pertumbuhan ekonomi. Kalau kita lihat kerajaan menegaskan dalam belanjawan 2026 untuk menyeimbangkan tabir urus kewangan berhemah dengan manfaat ekonomi rakyat. Jadi bagaimana kerajaan boleh kekalkan disiplin fiskal itu dalam keadaan hasil negara yang masih terbatas dan juga sambil nak memastikan suntikan pembangunan bernilai tinggi seperti R&D, tenaga dan juga PKS itu benar-benar memberi kesan berganda kepada ekonomi negara.
Baik, terima kasih Nabilah. Kalau kita lihat dalam tempoh 2-3 tahun yang kebelakangan ini, proses konsolidasi fiskal itu telah pun berlaku ya. Kalau kita lihat dari segi dasar pencukaian, beberapa cukai telah pun diperkenalkan, seperti cukai barangan rendah ataupun low value goods, capital gains tax, kemudian kenaikan cukai perkhidmatan daripada 6% ke 8%, dan baru-baru ini kita telah melihat pengembangan skop SST dan pelaksanaan e-invoicing. Itu dari segi pelaksanaan cukai dan pentadbiran pencukaian lah. Kemudian kita melihat dari segi perbelanjaan, rasioning subsidi sudah pasti merupakan orang kata tu perkara tunggak bagaimana perbelanjaan kerajaan itu dapat dioptimumkan. Kita bermula dengan rasioning subsidi diesel, subsidi, beberapa subsidi juga dah dimansuhkan seperti telur ayam dan sebagainya. Kemudian baru-baru ini penggunaan budi 95 iaitu penggunaan MyCard dilaksanakan. Jadi saya kira kedua-dua perkara ini telah membuka ruang kerajaan untuk memastikan disiplin kewangan itu dapat dicapai. Dan kerajaan juga bersifat orang kata tu pragmatik dalam pendekatannya itu. Kalau kita lihat mereka begitu orang kata tu cakna tentang cabaran ekonomi semasa, utamanya berkenaan dengan pendapatan daripada sumber minyak dan gas. Dan kalau kita lihat unjuran harga minyak mentah sekitar $70 setung, dan ini memberi gambaran bahawa sumbangan daripada sektor minyak dan gas akan berkurangan. Dan terbukti kalau kita melihat dokumen seperti Fiscal Policy Outlook jelas menunjukkan bahawa sumbangan dividen daripada Petronas akan diturunkan ke paras 20 bilion bagi tahun hadapan berbanding 32 bilion pada tahun ini. Jadi saya kira kerajaan cakna tentang cabaran-cabaran tersebut dan bersifat pragmatik dalam usaha untuk orang kata tu mengekalkan disiplin kewangan melalui orang kata tu selain daripada usaha berbentuk keuangan, tapi usaha dari segi perundangan juga dilaksanakan seperti public finance and fiscal responsibility yang telah pun diluluskan tahun lalu, dan kemudian baru-baru ini Government Procurement Act juga telah pun diluluskan. Jadi perundangan, pelaksanaan dari segi kewangan telah pun dilaksanakan. Cuma sekarang ini bagaimana kerajaan untuk melaksanakan dan bagaimana rakyat melihat hasil tersebut, adakah mereka betul-betul memanfaatkan daripada langkah-langkah tersebut.
Dan kita ada jangka masa dalam setahun untuk kita saksikan bagaimana kerajaan boleh mengurus dan juga mempergunakan peruntukan yang telah dibentangkan pada 10 Oktober lalu. Namun kalau kita nak beralih dari segi daya saing PKS dalam ekonomi bernilai tinggi HGHV, kalau kita lihat PKS menjadi salah satu fokus utama pembangunan sektor bernilai tinggi. Mungkin kalau boleh doktor kongsikan apa sebenarnya langkah yang paling kritikal ataupun strategik untuk kita pastikan sektor PKS ini tidak sekadar menjadi penyokong rantai bekalan tetapi juga peneraju inovasi dalam ekonomi bernilai tinggi, khususnya apabila berdepan kekangan pembiayaan dan juga teknologi.
Saya kira kalau kita lihat apabila Yang Amat Perdana Menteri mengumumkan peruntukan belanjawan, uh, pihak Kementerian Kewangan orang kata tu menggabungkan peruntukan tersebut bukan sahaja daripada orang kata tu kerajaan persekutuan, tapi mengambil kira juga keupayaan ataupun dana yang boleh disediakan daripada GLC dan juga GLIC. Seperti itu, disebabkan itu kita dapat lihat amount iaitu mencecah 470 bilion. Jadi kalau kita lihat peranan GLIC terutamanya, saya kira ini merupakan satu pembangkit utamalah bagaimana program seperti Gear Up itu menjadi suatu kata catalyst untuk menjana kegiatan ataupun aktiviti ekonomi yang bersifat high growth, high value, dan yang mana seharusnya dia akan mencapai suatu orang kata tu kepada sektor PMKS. Dan dari segi sudut keuangan ataupun pembiayaan pula, kita telah lihat peruntukan pembiayaan dari segi syarikat jaminan perniagaan juga ditingkatkan, dan capaiannya itu juga bukan setakat syarikat kecil, medium dan sederhana, tapi mencapai syarikat orang kata tu mikro. Jadi di sudut kata tu catalyst, kita lihat peranan GLIC, kemudian dari segi akses kepada pembiayaan melalui program jaminan pembiayaan merupakan instrumen utama bagaimana ia membolehkan PMKLCI boleh berintegrasi lah ke dalam sektor AJAV. Cuma selepas ni mungkin apa yang perlu ditekankan dari segi aspek latihan, aspek apa kata tu capacity building yang perlu diterapkan supaya pendekatan itu lebih menyeluruh. Jadi saya rasa itulah orang kata tu bagaimana hala tuju pihak PMKS ni untuk dapat orang kata tu scale up dari segi skala ekonominya itu.
Kita akan terus menjadikan PKS ini sebagai penyumbang ataupun tunjang ekonomi negara bergerak ke hadapan. Tapi kalau kita nak beralih kepada bagaimana dari segi pembangunan seimbang Sabah dan Sarawak, kita lihat peruntukan pembangunan tertinggi iaitu 6.9 bilion ringgit dan juga 6 bilion ringgit masing-masing adalah untuk Sabah dan juga Sarawak. Tapi sejauh mana peruntukan bersejarah ini sebenarnya mampu mengurangkan jurang pembangunan wilayah dan juga adakah tumpuan perlu diberikan kepada infrastruktur fizikal semata-mata ataupun juga kepada pemerkasaan ekonomi tempatan dan bakat itu sendiri, Doktor?
Ya, saya rasa dia pendekatannya itu memerlukan satu kolaborasi yang jitu lah antara kerajaan persekutuan dan kerajaan negeri, dan kita dapat lihat kerajaan negeri sekarang pun begitu proaktif dalam merangka dasar ekonominya, dasar pendidikannya, dan sudah pasti ini akan dapat mempercepatkan proses pertumbuhan ekonomi yang lebih berkualiti, dan ditambah pula dengan sumbangan ataupun sokongan daripada pihak kerajaan persekutuan, sudah pasti suatu koordinasi yang baik boleh dicapai. Sudah pasti dia bukan sahaja berbentuk wang sahaja, tetapi melihat realiti terhadap ekonomi di negeri Sarawak dan Sabah. Sebagai contoh, kalau kita lihat dari segi sudut muka buminya sudah pasti sangat-sangat mencabar. Dia memerlukan suatu infrastruktur yang berbeza bagi memastikan setiap rakyat di Sabah dan Sarawak orang kata tu mendapat manfaatnya, meskipun mungkin dari segi populasinya agak berpecah dan sebagainya itu, tapi dari segi infrastruktur tu perlu diseragamkan supaya kata tu mereka dapat meningkatkan aktiviti ekonomi dengan lebih produktif lagi. Jadi sudah pasti dengan situasi seperti muka bumi yang mencabar itu menuntut suatu peruntukan yang berbeza kalau dibandingkan skalanya di Semenanjung Malaysia. Jadi saya kira pendekatan kerajaan saban tahun yang menaikkan peruntukan tersebut adalah sesuatu yang saya kira pragmatik. Cuma sekarang ni isunya adalah bagaimana peruntukan tersebut dapat disalurkan secepat mungkin dan menghasilkan apa yang dikatakan sebagai multiplier effect sepantas mungkin.
Doktor, kita ada lebih kurang dalam 3 minit. Kita nak beralih kepada berkenaan dengan tadbir urus. Kalau kita lihat dalam konteks ekonomi global yang tidak menentu, sejauh mana faktor tadbir urus dan juga kestabilan dasar ini memainkan peranan dalam menentukan keyakinan pelabur terhadap Malaysia, dan adakah kerajaan sebenarnya perlu memperkenalkan mekanisme baru bagi nak memantau hasil belanjawan ini secara keseluruhannya?
Ya, tadbir urus ni memang dia memerlukan orang kata tu ketelusan dan juga iltizam politik bagaimana ia perlu dilaksanakan, kerana ekosistem ekonomi itu dia sangat delicate ya. Dia bukan saja bersekitaran berkenaan dengan dollar and cent sahaja, tapi bagaimana yang menguruskan wang tersebut, siapa yang membuat keputusan. Jadi ia menuntut suatu bentuk ketulusan yang jelas supaya kita dapat lihat ke manakah hala tuju wang tersebut dibelanjakan dan apakah outcome yang telah dicapai dan apa yang mahu dicapai, apakah perbezaan atau variance itu. Jadi saya kira mungkin penambahbaikan adalah kerana saban tahun setiap belanjawan dibentang, kita mahu lihatlah belanjawan yang lepas, apa yang mahu dicapai dan apa yang telah dicapai dan apakah variance ataupun perbezaannya itu. Sekiranya perbezaannya itu perbezaan yang negatif, maka ia perlu diterangkan kepada rakyat melalui laporan-laporan yang bersesuaian ataupun kepada para pelabur supaya perkara ini dapat dipantau dengan jelas. Jadi itu akan dapat memperkemaskan lagi bagaimana pelaksanaan belanjawan 2026 ni supaya satu kita rakyat dan komuniti pelabur, komuniti perniagaan jelas akan hala tuju dan bagaimana wang dibelanjakan. Jadi kalau kejelasan itu dapat ditunjukkan, sudah pasti keyakinan itu juga, kredibiliti juga dapat ditingkatkan. Ini juga akan menunjukkan satu sentimen yang baik ataupun confidence yang jelas yang akan pengakhirannya akan orang kata itu membantulah dalam menyumbang kepada pertumbuhan ekonomi yang lebih berkualiti pada masa akan datang.
Baik, kalau kita lihat belanjawan bukan sekadar angka, ia adalah cerminan hala tuju negara dan dalam usaha menyumbangkan pertumbuhan dan juga disiplin fiskal dan juga untuk mencapai sasaran defisit 3.5% KDNK untuk tahun 2026. Cabaran sebenar itu terletak pada pelaksanaan dan juga keberkesanan dasar. Jadi terima kasih diucapkan pada Dr. Muhammad Afzal Nizam Abdul Rashid, Ketua Ekonomi di Bank Muamalat Malaysia Berhad. Dan segalanya akan kami rakungkan dalam semua platform digital Astro AWANI dan juga astrowani.com.
Terlepas menyaksikan pembentangan belanjawan 2026, kalkulator belanjawan 2026 dan Astro AWANI akan membantu senaraikan apa faedah dan manfaat yang anda dapat. Layari astroawani.com sekarang untuk mengetahui info berkaitan belanjawan 2026 juga di saluran 501, aplikasi Astro AWANI dan di semua platform media sosial.
Baik, masih lagi berkenaan dengan belanjawan 2026 yang dibentangkan pada Jumaat lalu, ia dilihat belum memberi kesan kepada pasaran modal. Bursa Malaysia menunjukkan trend penurunan bermula pada hari Jumaat lalu sehingga pada hari Selasa, kemudiannya mendatar pada hari Rabu dan sedikit meningkat pada Khamis. Jadi kita nak tahu mengapa bajet kali ini tidak merangsang pertumbuhan FBMKLCI atau adakah sebab lain yang menyebabkan penurunan pasaran saham pada minggu ini. Jadi bersama dengan kita dalam talian pada waktu ini adalah Muhammad Siddiq Jantan, Pengarah Strategi Pelaburan dan Ekonomi IPPFA Sdn Berhad. Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi Siddiq.
Assalamualaikum.
Okey, kalau kita nak mulakan perbincangan, mungkin Siddiq boleh kongsikan apa faktor tertentu dalam belanjawan 2026 yang mungkin menyumbang kepada kurangnya kesan positif ke atas FBMKLCI walaupun kita lihat terdapat aktiviti perdagangan yang aktif sebenarnya.
Okey, baik Nabilah. Kalau kita tengok secara asas, bajet 2026 dia menunjukkan disiplin fiskal dan juga strategi transformasi struktur dan bukan rangsangan jangka pendek. So kalau kita tengok langkah kerajaan, dia mengecilkan defisit kepada 3.5%, itu target mereka untuk tahun 2026 ini, dan disokong oleh pembiayaan sebanyak 40 bilion bukan daripada pinjaman kerajaan tetapi daripada GLIC dan juga PPP iaitu Private Partnership yang menandakan komitmen terhadap kredibiliti fiskal dan juga kestabilan jangka masa panjang. So namun begitu kalau kita tengok untuk pasaran, langkah ini tidak memberikan pemangkin yang segera kepada saham dalam FBMKSL for example, khususnya sektor perbankan dan juga sektor komoditi yang selalunya menjadi pemacu utama indeks. Namun kalau kita tengok lebih mendalam untuk komposisi FBMKLCI, sektor pengguna dan juga runcit sebenarnya menunjukkan peningkatan yang konsisten, iaitu meningkat dari 10 Oktober sehingga sekarang. So saham dalam sektor ini mendapat manfaat langsung daripada langkah bajet seperti peningkatan peruntukan perlindungan sosial iaitu sebanyak 338 bilion, inisiatif bantuan isi rumah serta pelaburan infrastruktur yang mendorong permintaan domestik. Walau bagaimanapun, kalau kita tengok prestasi positif pengguna ini dineutralkan oleh kelemahan sektor lain dalam indeks, terutamanya kalau kita tengok sektor perbankan, tenaga dan juga perdagangan yang terkesan daripada ketidaktentuan global dan juga tekanan margin akibat daripada tarif Amerika Syarikat dan juga China. So akibatnya indeks utama kekal mendata walaupun terdapat kekuatan terpilih dalam segmen domestik. So dalam konteks ni kita boleh cakap bajet 2026 ni dia memberi kesan positif bersasar, tetapi struktur indeks FBMKLCI yang berat kepada sektor global menjadikan kesan lebih terhad pada paras agregat.
Jadi masih kekal positif kalau kita boleh rumuskan. Tapi kalau kita nak lihat walaupun FBMKLCI lemah dan juga FBM 17 lebih stabil walaupun menurun sedikit daripada 17,178 kepada 17,146 pada 15 Oktober. Mungkin Sidi boleh kongsikan mengapa indeks ini menunjukkan reaksi berbeza dan apa signifikannya?
Okey, kalau kita tengok perbezaan antara FBMKLCI dan juga FBM70, FBM70 kalau kita boleh katakan adalah proksi yang paling tepat untuk menilai reaksi sebenar pasaran terhadap bajet 2026 ini. Kenapa saya katakan? Sebab ini merangkumi syarikat pertengahan iaitu mid cap yang beroperasi dalam sektor paling berkait rapat dengan dasar kerajaan, iaitu kita boleh tengok banyak stok dalam FBM70 ini dia meliputi infrastruktur, teknologi, logistik dan juga perkhidmatan domestik. Kalau kita compare dengan FBMKLCI, pemberat dia adalah sektor pembengkang. So bajet 2026 ni kalau kita tengok peruntukan 81 bilion untuk infrastruktur contoh dia dan juga 10 bilion untuk PKS dan 2 bilion untuk pembangunan AI iaitu termasuk automasi. So ini secara tak langsung dia menyokong syarikat dalam FBM70 yang lebih peka terhadap permintaan dalaman berbanding daripada kejutan luaran. Sebab banyak stok di dalam FBMKLCI dia expose kepada kejutan luaran sahaja. So FBM 70 dia lebih kepada permintaan dalaman. So FBM 70 juga kita lihat dia mengekalkan kestabilan walaupun dalam keadaan luaran yang sedikit mencabar, namun hanya 0.18% untuk penurunan dalam tempoh 10 hingga 15 Oktober menunjukkan bahawa pelabur menilai kekuatan bajet itu dari sudut ekonomi sebenar, real ekonomi. So kita tengok bukan semata-mata dalam dari konteks indikator pasaran besar saja. So oleh itu kalau kita tengok FPM 70 memang ukuran paling realistik terhadap impact bajet kerana ia mencerminkan aktiviti domestik, keberkesanan dasar fiskal dan juga keyakinan pelabur terhadap hala tuju transformasi struktur di Malaysia.
Sidik baru saja jelaskan bagaimana FBM 70 ni adalah ukuran paling realistik kalau kita nak bandingkan mungkin dengan FBMKLCI secara khususnya. Jadi apa peranan faktor luaran ataupun khususnya ketegangan perdagangan antara Amerika Syarikat dan juga China dalam menekan pasaran tempatan sepanjang minggu pasca bajet ini, Sidik?
Memang kalau kita tengok waktu bajet 2026 ni diumumkan pada malam tersebut juga Trump mengumumkan untuk meletakkan tarif untuk rare earth sebanyak 100% ke atas import China yang bakal berkuat kuasa pada 1 November. So impact pasaran Malaysia untuk bajet 2026 ni dimansuhkan secara automatik kerana pelabur lebih tertumpu kepada pengumuman tarif 100% Trump ke atas import China. So ini kalau kita tengok China pula pada masanya sama dia bertindak balas, iaitu kalau kita tengok dalam hari Selasa 14 Oktober China menaikkan caj pelabuhan bagi kapal Amerika Syarikat. So benda ni dia takkan berakhir. So kedua-dua langkah ini kalau kita tengok US dengan China ni dia akan mencetuskan gelombang ketidaktentuan dalam rantaian bekalan serantau. So dia memberi kesan langsung kepada saham Malaysia yang terdedah kepada ekspor seperti perbankan, ENE dan juga perdagangan, sektor utama dan juga sektor yang paling banyak pemberat dalam FBMKLCI. So akibat dia indeks utama jatuh dan juga walaupun kita tengok sektor domestik menunjukkan daya tahan. So namun kalau kita tengok sektor yang kurang bergantung kepada ekspor seperti perkhidmatan pengguna, pelancongan dan juga pembinaan domestik, ia yang menunjukkan peningkatan. So ini menunjukkan dua speed adjustment yang sedang berlaku di pasaran Malaysia, iaitu kelemahan global sedang diimbangi oleh kekuatan dalaman hasil dasar bajet yang berasaskan permintaan domestik dan juga daya sahan struktur.
Sentimen ataupun tumpuan pelabur yang lebih terarah kepada faktor luaran pada 10 Oktober tersebut, bagaimana pula dengan sentimen pelabur yang boleh sidik gambarkan untuk sepanjang minggu pasca bajet ini?
Okey, kalau saya boleh katakan, sentimen pelabur minggu ni sangat berhati-hati sebab mereka telah melalui keadaan di mana reciprocal tarif pada bulan April dan juga suddenly pada bulan 7 ada perubahan sedikit dan pada bulan 8 ada pengkhususan sebanyak 19% reciprocal tarif. So, sentimen pelabur apabila dikaitkan dengan faktor luaran, mereka boleh saya katakan sangat berhati-hati tetapi konstruktif. Kenapa? Sebab kalau kita tengok selepas pengumuman bajet, pelabur institusi tempatan dan juga asing, dia mengambil masa untuk menilai dua naratif utama, iaitu yang pertama, sejauh mana disiplin fiskal kerajaan mengekang inflasi dan juga kadar faedah jangka masa panjang. Dan yang kedua, sejauh mana bajet 2026 ini boleh mencipta peluang dalam ekonomi sebenar. So selepas penilaian ini, iaitu biasanya pelabur institusi dia mengambil masa lebih kurang 2 hingga 3 minggu melihat sejauh mana bajet 2026 ini memberi impak. Kita akan melihat pelarasan portfolio secara selektif. So apa yang berlaku, pelabur dia beralih kepada uh, apa yang saya boleh katakan saham berwajaran besar kepada sektor pertengahan dan juga kecil yang lebih selaras dengan agenda bajet. Ini sebabnya kalau kita tengok FBM 70 dan FBM small cap lebih stabil berbanding FBMKLCI kerana mereka memerlukan masa, pelabur institusi memerlukan masa untuk menilai adakah bajet 2026 ini dapat mengurangkan inflasi dan juga dapat mencipta peluang baru dalam ekonomi sebenar. So bila kita tengok secara teknikal dia peningkatan volume, sebab kalau kita tengok daripada hari Jumaat lepas sampai semalam, jumlah volume perdagangan iaitu jumlah pembelian lebih daripada 3 bilion. Itu 3 bilion adalah average untuk setiap masa. So sekiranya pembelian lebih daripada 3 bilion dan untuk minggu ini saja kita boleh tengok average sebanyak 3.8 bilion. Walaupun harga turun tapi orang ramai still aktif beli dan juga jual. So ini kita boleh katakan perbandingan bila kita compare dengan bulan September menunjukkan fasa accumulation, bukan pengunduran modal. So pasaran sedang menyesuaikan dirilah dari strategi index chasing ke arah value rotation, memberi tumpuan kepada saham yang berkaitan dengan perbelanjaan pembangunan dan juga transformasi digital.
Mungkin soalan terakhir, Sidi, dalam lebih kurang 1 minit, kalau Sidi boleh ringkaskan melihat kepada keseluruhan trend, mungkin apa hala tuju pasaran tempatan menjelang hujung tahun dan bagaimana pelabur boleh seharusnya menilai impak belanjawan 2026 ini?
Okey, kalau saya boleh katakan untuk tahun 2025 ini kami masih melihat FBMKLCI kekal pada jajaran 1630 sehingga 1650 untuk jangka masa pendek, tetapi pemulihan sebenar akan digerakkan dalam sektor oleh sektor pertengahan dan juga kecil menjelang suku pertama 2026. So bajet 2026 ni bukan seperti yang saya katakan bukan bajet untuk menaikkan pasaran dalam masa seminggu, tetapi bajet untuk memperkukuhkan daya tahan ekonomi dalam masa 5 tahun akan datang. Fokusnya terhadap infrastruktur, digitalisasi, tenaga hijau, produktiviti domestik akan menjadi pemangkin utama kepada segmen pertengahan dan juga pengguna. So bagi pelabur, strategi yang paling sesuai untuk masa sekarang ni adalah thematic positioning. Fokus kepada sektor yang memberi manfaat langsung daripada bajet seperti tenaga pulih baru dan khususnya sektor pelancongan dan juga sektor runcit, sebab kita lihat banyak benefit daripada bajet 2026 ini memberi kesan langsung dan immediate pada sektor-sektor ini.
Baik, itulah sedikit sebanyak rangkuman aktiviti dagangan FBMKLCI sepanjang minggu ini yang telah dirangkumkan oleh Muhammad Sidik Jantan, Pengarah Strategi Pelaburan dan Ekonomi IPPFA Sdn Bhd. Terima kasih diucapkan atas perkongsian dan masa yang diberikan. Namun untuk waktu ini kita perlu berhenti lihat seketika dahulu. Kembali selepas ini.
This Deepavali, let's celebrate with the best entertainment for the entire family.
Happy Diwali, Chitapa!
From blockbuster hits to dramas that tell our stories. A celebration that shares our culture. And cuisine. Concerts that unite us as one.
ஆட்டம் பாட்டம் கொண்டாட்டம் என அனைத்தும் இந்நிகழ்ச்சியில்.
Let's share the love and joy.
Super.
This is our celebration. This is our Deepavali. Easy streaming, endless entertainment.
When the superpowers move, the ground shifts. Power isn't just about might anymore. It's about narratives, networks, negotiation. We go beyond the noise to deliver laser-focused analysis on how power moves and what it means for the world. This is AWANI International, reporting the shifts in power affairs shaping the world.
Baik, seperti biasa setiap minggu kita akan meneliti prestasi pasaran saham tempatan, khususnya FBMKLCI yang sering menjadi barometer kepada keyakinan pelabur terhadap ekonomi Malaysia. Dan sepanjang minggu ini, pelbagai faktor daripada laporan ekonomi global, pengumuman korporat tempatan sehinggalah pergerakan kadar faedah dan juga harga komoditi semuanya memberi kesan kepada sentimen pelabur. Jadi untuk mengupas lebih lanjut bersama kita hari ini adalah menerusi Google Meet ialah Syed Muhammad Kifli, Syed Kamarudin, Ketua Strategi di MBSB Research. Baik, Syed Kifli, kalau kita nak mulakan, kalau boleh saya kongsikan bagaimana prestasi FBMKLCI sepanjang minggu ini memandangkan beberapa faktor mungkin mempengaruhi pergerakan pasaran saham. Silakan.
Terima kasih atas jemputan ke AWANI. Sepanjang minggu ini, indeks FBMKLCI mencatatkan penurunan sebanyak 10 mata atau 0.6% dan berakhir pada 1,612 mata pada penutup semalam. Di pasaran serantau, kebanyakan indeks-indeks utama yang juga mengalami penurunan. Umpamanya indeks STI Singapura dan JCI Jakarta masing-masing jatuh sekitar 1.6% sepanjang minggu ini. Kejatuhan pasaran saham tempatan dan serantau pada minggu ini adalah berkait kejatuhan di Wall Street bermula pada hari Jumaat lepas, selepas Presiden Amerika Syarikat Donald Trump mengumumkan ugutan mengenakan tarif tambahan sebanyak 100% kepada produk import dari negara China. Di samping itu, Presiden Trump juga akan mengenakan kawalan ekspor ke atas semua perisian kritikal atau critical software terhadap negara China. Para pelabur merasa khawatir bahawa tindakan ini akan melonjakkan kembali intensiti peperangan dagangan seperti yang berlaku pada suku kedua tahun ini. Namun perlu dinyatakan juga bahawa menurut kenyataan pentadbiran Amerika Syarikat, pengumuman kadar tarif tambahan dan sekatan ekspor tersebut adalah sebagai tindak balas terhadap keputusan kerajaan China untuk mengenakan sekatan ekspor bagi elemen nadir bumi atau rare earth element terhadap semua negara-negara di dunia. Maksudnya negara Malaysia pun tertakluk pada sekatan ekspor ini. Dan di samping itu, negara China juga akan mengenakan sekatan terhadap peralatan pengeluaran yang berkaitan, juga teknologi bateri lithium dan juga bahan kathod dan anode. Elemen nadir bumi ini adalah bahan yang kritikal dan dalam pembuatan semiconductor dan motor kenderaan elektrik atau EV. dan juga adalah bahan penting dalam alatan persenjataan dan pertahanan seperti peluru berpandu dan juga radar. Pada masa ini, China menguasai rancangan bekalan global untuk elemen nadi bumi. Menurut Agensi Tenaga Antarabangsa atau IEA, negara tersebut mengawal 60% perombongan dan lebih 90% penapisan elemen nadi bumi bagi seluruh dunia. Ini bermakna kawalan atau dekatan ekspor oleh negara China itu boleh mengganggu rantai bekalan dan menghalang kelangsungan industri semiconductor dan EV dan juga industri pertahanan. Bukan saja bagi Amerika Syarikat, bahkan dunia. Oleh itu, sekiranya sekatan ekspor elemen nadi bumi itu tidak dilonggar atau dimasukkan Malaysia yang merupakan sebahagian daripada rantai bekalan semiconductor global mungkin dan juga mengalami kesalahan limpahan. Dan sekiranya berlarutan dalam tempoh sederhana dan panjang, dunia mungkin akan menyaksikan supply chain realignment ataupun penyusunan semula rantai bekalan dan juga fragmentasi teknologi dan seterusnya penceraian ekosistem atau ekosistem bifurcation di antara Amerika Syarikat dan China. Bagi sebahagian pemerhati, prospek pemisahan ini juga dilihat mungkin akan meningkatkan risiko geopolitik dunia. Namun Presiden Trump ada membuat perkataan pada awal minggu ini bahawa beliau menjangkakan bahawa hubungan dagang antara Amerika Syarikat dan China akan menjadi lebih baik. Quote unquote, will all be fine dalam Malaysia. Jadi kami pun berharap begitulah kesudahannya.
Jadi kalau kita boleh rumuskan prestasi FBMKLCI sepanjang minggu ini adalah didorong oleh faktor luaran. Tapi kalau kita nak perinci sikit, Syed, counter ataupun sektor mana yang dilihat mendahului seminggu ini dan sektor mana yang sebenarnya mengalami kejatuhan, dan adakah ini sebenarnya menggambarkan perubahan strategi pelabur ke arah sektor yang defensif ataupun berisiko tinggi?
Sepanjang minggu ini, 11 daripada 13 sektor didagang pada tahap yang lebih rendah seiring kejatuhan market secara keseluruhannya. Kejatuhan ini didahului oleh indeks sektor pembinaan yang turun sebanyak hampir 3%. Syarikat-syarikat pembinaan terbesar tempatan terlibat dalam projek pusat data yang bernilai berbilion ringgit. Dan antara faktor yang mungkin menyumbang kepada kejatuhan indeks sektor pembinaan tempatan pada minggu ini adalah berkait kesekatan ekspor elemen nadi bumi yang dikhawatiri menjejaskan rantai bekalan bagi semiconductor yang diperlukan bagi pusat data. Manakala indeks sektor pengguna, sektor yang more defensif, mengalami peningkatan terbesar, naik sebanyak 2.6% sepanjang minggu ini. Syarikat-syarikat pengguna dilihat sebagai antara penerima manfaat utama or key beneficiaries daripada pengumuman bajet 2026 pada hari lepas yang menggenangi banyak inisiatif-inisiatif people-centric ataupun berpasihkan rakyat seperti bantuan tunai daripada kerajaan, lepasan cukai dan juga subsidi minyak pudi 90,000.
Dan untuk soalan seterusnya mungkin yang terakhir adalah apa jangkaan ataupun hala pergerakan pasaran saham dalam masa terdekat dalam pandangan Syed Kifli, dan juga apa faktor makro utama yang perlu diperhatikan minggu hadapan kalau boleh saya rumuskan.
Okay, dalam tempoh masa terdekat berikutan ketidaktentuan semasa hubungan dagang antara Amerika Syarikat dan China terutamanya, kami menjangkakan indeks FBMKLCI akan bergerak dalam bulan yang mendatang pada tahap rintangan sekitar 1630 dan tahap sokongan atau support pada paras psikologi 1600. Namun kami berasa optimis bahawa underlying trend atau trend dasar bagi indeks FBMKLCI adalah positif. Ada beberapa faktor yang dilihat akan menyumbang kepada jangkaan menaik pasaran dalam tempoh masa sederhana. Pertamanya, asas ekonomi Malaysia yang baik dengan permintaan domestik yang mampan dan dagangan luar yang pelbagai atau diversified dilihat akan mengurangkan kesan tarif Amerika Syarikat terhadap ekonomi negara. Berdasarkan faktor itu, kami meramalkan KDNK Malaysia akan tumbuh sebanyak 4.3% bagi tahun ini dan di antara 4 hingga 4.5% pada tahun hadapan. Dan seiring jangkaan pertumbuhan ekonomi makro, prestasi korporat juga dijangka akan terus baik dan mencatatkan keuntungan yang sihat pada tahun ini dan juga hadapan. Keduanya kami lihat masukan semula dana asing juga akan turut menyumbang pada kenaikan harga saham. Para pelabuhan antarabangsa dilihat akan kembali ke pasaran saham Asia Tenggara dan secara amnya dan pasaran tempatan secara khasnya berdasarkan asas ekonomi yang baik dan prospek kenaikan nilai mata wang berbanding dolar Amerika. Berikutan jangkaan penurunan kadar faedah Rizab Persatuan Amerika Syarikat pada tahun ini dan juga depan. Dan ketiganya, jangkaan trend positif indeks FBMKLCI ini adalah didorong oleh valuation atau nilaian yang relatif murah. Pada masa ini, indeks FBMKLCI didagang pada nisbah harga pendapatan sebanyak 14.8 kali, iaitu di bawah tahap 10 tahun historical sebanyak 16 kali. Bagaimanapun, pasaran saham tempatan juga terdedah pada risiko luaran. Antara kerisauan utama adalah prestasi ekonomi Amerika Syarikat yang telah mula menunjukkan isyarat perlahan. Satu signal dia adalah pengumuman angka payroll data atau angka penggajian yang lemah semenjak beberapa bulan kebelakang ini. Sekiranya kelemahan pasaran buruh itu berlarutan, faktor ini dilihat akan menjejaskan prestasi Wall Street pada masa mendatang dan lazimnya akan juga membantutkan kenaikan pasaran saham lain di dunia dan juga pasaran tempatan.
Baik, terima kasih diucapkan kepada Syed Muhammad Kifni Syed Kamarudin, Ketua Strategi MBSB Research, dan MBSB Research akan terus membantu kami menganalisis prestasi FBMKLCI minggu ini dan juga minggu hadapan dan minggu-minggu seterusnya. Jadi untuk waktu ini kita akan ke perkembangan seterusnya AWANI International. AI's founder and CEO Dennis Yap calls on the public to adopt practical, technology-based strategies to tackle misinformation, particularly content spread through popular messaging platforms such as WhatsApp. He notes that artificial intelligence can both combat and amplify misinformation, depending on how responsibly it is developed and managed. Speaking at a forum titled The AI Misinformation Feedback Loop, Practical AI for Governments, Enterprises and Everyday Users, Yap said misinformation often circulates within family and social groups on WhatsApp. To address these, he said automation could help streamline corrections while easing the burden of repeated explanations. He said such tools aim to reduce the need for constant manual fact-checking, making it easier for individuals to respond quickly and accurately when misinformation appears. Yap also said technology should enhance critical thinking, not replace human judgment, as society continues to adjust to AI's expanding role in everyday communication. Wall Street closed lower on Thursday, October 16th, with signs of weakness in regional banks spooking investors already on edge over US-China trade tensions. Shares of Zions Bank Corporation tumbled after the regional bank disclosed an expected loss on 2 loans in its California division, adding to growing investor unease about hidden credit stress as lenders navigate economic uncertainty with interest rates still relatively high. Also fueling worries about regional banks, Western Alliance slumped after it said it initiated a fraud lawsuit against one of its borrowers.
Stocks are sputtering a little bit based on a handful of banks coming out just in the latter half of the day, talking about even more credit losses than what's occurred over the last month. You had Tricolor, you had First Brands, now you have Zions Bank and Western Alliance coming out, posting much higher losses and much higher reserves than the market was expecting due to potential credit losses on some of their lending portfolio. Bank investors are starting to get nervous that this isn't just a canary in a coal mine, that there's a lot more to come about in terms of credit losses.
The Chinese Commerce Ministry said on Thursday, October 16, that US interpretations of China's rare earth export controls grossly distorted facts and caused unnecessary panic, defending its measures as legitimate practice to refine the export control system. US Trade Representative Jamieson Greer on Wednesday called China's new rare earth export restrictions a global supply chain power grab and suggested Beijing could stave off President Donald Trump's threat to reimpose triple-digit tariffs on Chinese goods by shelving the measures set to take effect on November 8th. Beijing maintains it not only notified Washington before announcing the new licensing regime, but that the controls are also consistent with measures long in place in other major economies. The US and China have been embroiled in a war of words since a September telephone call between Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping, with each accusing the other of stoking tensions weeks ahead of an expected meeting between the two men.
近期，中方按照两国元首通话共识和中美经贸会谈共识，一直主动与美方就301调查限制措施进行磋商沟通，秉持建设性姿态，并提出相关合作建议。但美方态度消极，执意实施限制措施，中方不得不采取反制措施，包括依法依规对涉美船舶收取特别港务费。
Separately, US energy prices to spike on Trump's axing of grants the Trump administration's plans to cancel nearly $8 billion in Energy Department grants are illegal because contracts had already been signed and will cause consumer energy prices to skyrocket, the top Democrat on the US Senate Energy Committee said. Early this month, the Energy Department cancelled $7.56 billion in funding for clean energy projects that it claimed would not provide sufficient returns to taxpayers. Senator Martin Heinrich of New Mexico said, these are projects that would have added energy to the grid and added flexibility. The administration is constraining the energy that can be put on the grid, and at the end of the day, it is going to raise energy costs for consumers. Heinrich said that 218 of the 233 projects, ranging from battery storage to green hydrogen, were located in states with democratic governance. Soaring home electricity bills, driven largely by skyrocketing electricity demand by data centers to power artificial intelligence, have become a top voter concern and one that Democrats hope to seize on ahead of upcoming gubernatorial elections and next year's congressional elections. Heinrich said retail electricity prices were already 10% higher year over year, even before the cuts were proposed. The Energy Department has said it is prioritizing oil, gas and coal energy, which it says will meet baseload demand needed by data centers and lower prices. Energy Secretary Chris Wright told reporters on Thursday that Americans were frustrated after 4 years of excessive spending, which ultimately led to subsidizing energy that turned out to be more expensive. Analysts have warned that the US cannot meet power demand for AI without clean energy, battery storage, and grid upgrades.
So I'm trying to use the influence of the law through litigation to increase the gendered perspective in the legal jurisprudence, and that ultimately has a direct impact on the society. A landmark judgment that I was able to get out of the Sindh High Court was on a single mother's freedom to pursue professional ambitions abroad. She was actually remarked as a woman who was perhaps not a good mother. And at the same time, of course, the court was only looking at the rights of the father, which of course the law does protect. So there was no balancing act and there was no precedent from the higher judiciary that the district judiciary could follow. And now it's become a law that it includes women, that they can have professional ambitions, they can travel, they should not have unnecessary restrictions. And of course, the family court should always view the welfare of the child from the perspective of both the mother and the father. My thing is just to get the judge to listen to me. Once the judge starts listening to me, I have a platform to make a point. Otherwise, the practice is that nobody really gets an opportunity to be heard also, which is unfortunate. And I'm working towards making the justice system a little better. I've seen women totally transform in the first year. Once we get the protection orders, we get the residence orders, we get monetary compensation, we give them a safe place to stay. They become, the support that they get, they become just generally beautiful women, and they become so resilient. They are more powerful. They kind of get their lost self-esteem back.
An estimated 350 million people around the world are in need of humanitarian assistance, but the funds have just dramatically declined.
We are underfunded, overstretched, and literally under attack. The needs are going in one direction and the money is going in the other. I think I'm probably the only person in the world now who's been to Darfur, Gaza, Kupiansk, Kabul, Kandahar, Kunduz, Goma, all in the last year. And in all of those crises, I see the impact of these funding cuts, devastating impact on people's lives and the choices they have to make. And it's a desperate situation.
actually think there's a moment here where we can rethink the system. For too long, we have provided a humanitarian response to people who are in need. That's certainly appropriate at the beginning of a crisis. But unfortunately, what we have seen play out far too often is that people 10 years down the road from a crisis, 15, 20 years, sometimes an entire generation, people will still depend on humanitarian aid. That suggests that we're failing communities.
While the short-term humanitarian work can come to meet the immediate needs of the communities, it's extremely important that more longer-term development works actually start alongside the humanitarian work.
Everywhere I go, I spend a lot of time with the local teams, local organizations, local communities who really are the front line of the humanitarian response. And it's why I want them to be at the heart of the reset. I want to shift power to those local organizations and away from the center, away from the hierarchy.
In my opinion, real progress on the front of decolonizing aid is investing in communities so that they can lead the development of their own programs or priorities and people following that lead. The true decolonization of aid is a lot more trust-based partnerships and a lot more leadership at the local level. We ask people at the beginning of projects, like, what are the types of things you would like to see? What are the things you need? At the end, we also say, what are the most important things that have happened to you? How should we judge the project? Like, what are your metrics?
The true partnership has to start from the countries where the issues are. They need to lead their efforts, and the international partners, the development partner, you mentioned partners, needs to respect and support that country ownership.
It's not to see people forever and ever as victims in need of aid, but to see them as people who are capable of driving change, who have skills, who have capacity, and who very much want to be part of their own future. Once you get into the creating solutions for communities, that means that you need to move beyond traditional government donors. You need to engage the communities themselves, engage the diaspora, engage the private sector, invite investment in ways that persons have been displaced can take advantage of. It's not governments that create jobs, it's the private sector that creates jobs. So ensuring that people can get access to markets, ensuring that people can compete in those markets, that's the way we can evolve into a new way of responding to humanitarian need.
We work in a lot of communities that are affected by conflict, and sometimes markets just don't have the risk appetite to work in those environments. So I think even though we're excited about different financial tools, it's really important to remember that can't fill the gap and that that's not the only solution, and that we still need some of that traditional funding.
The seventh boundary is particularly worrying in my mind because it's the indicator we use for the functioning of the ocean, and we know that the ocean is the largest and most decisive Earth-regulating system we have because of the heat uptake, because of the carbon cycling, thanks to all the life in the ocean, but also as a system that supplies a lot of the nutrient flows across the marine systems on planet Earth. the ocean is warming more rapidly even than we had predicted previously. We have the ocean acidification. We have bleaching events now occurring at a global scale right as we speak for the fourth time, devastating coral reef systems from the Great Barrier Reef all the way to the Caribbean, microplastics, overloading of nitrogen and phosphorus. So we have an overfishing. All these factors occur simultaneously, hitting on the same food basis in the ocean. We actually have scalable solutions that can outcompete the fossil fuel-based incumbents, even without subsidies, or if you even out subsidy levels. And not only that, if you do invest in them, once they're scaled, you come out as a more competitive, healthier, and secure winner. And that, I think, is a narrative that needs to be folded into the risk assessment. We have to act on all fronts simultaneously. Get off fossil fuels, invest in regenerative agriculture and sustainable forestry, stop losing the intact nature we have on planet Earth, particularly the tropical forest systems, the temperate forest systems, and the boreal forest systems, and scale carbon dioxide removal technologies.
Ada yang perdebatan bahawa GST perlu dikembalikan semula kerana dia mempertikaikan bahawa SST itu tidak efektif.
Isu buruh kanak-kanak bukan sahaja dalam bentuk fizikal tetapi juga bentuk moden yang lebih licik dan juga terselindung.
Kita tengok buruh kanak-kanak dan ada juga buruh paksa kanak-kanak.
Perkumpulan FB dikenali sebagai grup budak-budak sekolah rendah yang didakwa menyebarkan gambar remaja perempuan tidak senonoh telah pun ditutup.
Baru masuk Perman dah buat hal lah kau.
Tak sangka Victoria tu baik gila. Kau saja nak sabar aku kan? Oi, dia tahu tak? The girls either have it or they don't. Weh, kau nak belah macam tu je?
Generasi Perfect 10 stream episod terbaru eksklusif on demand dan 9 malam di Astro.
Hello and welcome to Niaga Spotlight with me, Tehmina Kaoosji. Niaga Spotlight takes us to the week in economic analysis as well as future affairs. And now, this week on analysis, Spotlight is clearly on Malaysia's office space reinvention. Now, to set that all within the frame also of the recent Budget 2026, it actually did set the tone for more disciplined, sustainability-driven economy. The next big shift, of course, will be a carbon tax rollout in 2026, which will actually be making retrofitting and reusing of existing buildings far more valuable than tearing down and rebuilding from scratch. For Malaysia's property sector, that is a turning point and a very interesting one. Incentives such as the Green Investment Tax Allowance, GITA, extended until the end of 2026, now reward energy-efficient upgrades and ESG-compliant assets as well, exactly where innovation in workspace design is also taking place. Now, there's also JLL's latest data showing that Kuala Lumpur's office vacancy eased to about 19% as tenants are also gravitating towards higher quality, flexible spaces. We're looking at reinvention, not so much rent cuts as a new strategy. So today, taking all of that into consideration, on Niaga Spotlight, we're exploring how two key players within the space are turning underperforming square footage into ESG-aligned, revenue-generating value. Welcome to the studios today, Stephanie Ping, CEO and co-founder of Work, to discuss Work's upcycle co-working model, together with Pang Salian, Senior General Manager of Sunway Malls Kuala Lumpur, with more about Sunway Malls asset as ecosystem strategy. A very good morning to the both of you. Thank you so much for making time.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Wonderful. So Stephanie and Fang, I will get started with the discussion perhaps by referring first to Stephanie to tell us a little bit more spacing this within the scaling versus saturation arena. So when it comes to works plans, you're going big guns, around 450,000 square feet of co-working space by the end of this year, which is very soon. We're already in Q4. And you're also looking towards managing around 1 million square feet by 2030. So, of course, looking at Klang Valley office vacancy rates, how are you evaluating risk within this space?
Well, I think when it comes to saturation, we are really not quite there yet at all, because this is at the infancy. I wouldn't say it's infancy, but it's, maybe toddler stage of the industry at the moment. Because if you look at the numbers, our penetration rate in Malaysia at the moment is probably about, last I checked, was 1% by now, maybe more than 1%. And a lot of the average penetration rate in the Asian cities are at 3%, at current rates 3+, and it could go up to 10% quite easily. And so we have a long way to go. So in terms of having oversaturation, I wouldn't say we're really worried about that at all, and we've got a lot of space to grow into. If you notice, we're very disciplined. We will definitely go to the other cities, but we are still only in KL, because in KL, there's still a long way to go of building even more spaces, which is where that 1 million square feet number is coming in. We're actually now, if my numbers are right, then if not the biggest, then one of the biggest here in Malaysia. So even at that stage, there's still a lot to go to. This side of town in Bukit Jalil, we don't have any. And a lot of other parts of Klang Valley as well. So I wouldn't say saturation is that much of a problem as of yet.
So not really a problem as of yet, but also still staying relatively conservative for the immediate long term, because we're looking at Klang Valley still, right?
We're actually looking in other cities. And when we say other cities, we don't just mean Penang and Johor. Right. We also talk about, what do you call it, Ipoh, even smaller towns, Malacca, or even Kuantan. We go wherever there are entrepreneurs, wherever there are businesses, and our model will fit into those cities as well. It's just that because there's still so much more to go in Klang Valley, then why not just continue to expand into that market, which comes to my point of like penetration rate in terms of it having to at saturation rate. It's not there yet. And that's where things are in terms of the office market for us.
Fantastic. So I think this is a perfect segue, actually, Pang, to go dig deep into Sunway Mall's approach, and the fact that also Sunway Malls has started now integrating solidly co-working into your mall assets. And how was this organically, in a sense, also came to fruition in the post-pandemic return to work time frame that you were mentioning as well?
Okay. Probably let me start off with some of the numbers from this NAPIC, the National Property Information Center. Recently, they have released the latest quarter report. It shows that for Malaysia shopping malls industry, there is about 20% vacancy in the malls or commercial buildings. Total occupancy is average is about 80%. So that's 20% vacancy. So that's why for shopping malls, I think this is a good repositioning strategy to fill up the vacancy. So that's why co-working space actually is a good strategy to fill up those vacancy or underutilized space, including those space like while waiting for the next enhancement project, transitional occupation period. So it's a good fill up. It's to help us to fill up the gap of this occupancy in the mall. And on top of that, it will help to generate revenue because it's a business model. Whether it's a fixed rental or a revenue sharing, there'll be an income rather than leaving it vacant. So on top of that, the most important is the footfall that
absolutely
the
there's a lot of
from
footfall
this
erosion as well.
Yeah, it will help to bring in
online
the
shopping,
footfall.
more malls.
Correct. We need more footfall to the mall. because nowadays the online shopping is very competitive. So that's why for physical brick and mortar mall, we need footfall, physical footfall. So co-working space can help to bring in footfall. And on top of that, spend. They activate the space and at the same time also can generate more sales activity in the mall.
Exactly. So it's sounding like there is also the positioning of co-working spaces as being a sort of a weekday engine inside a weekend asset where, of course, all malls are crowded. People want to come out and take their leisure time. So these kind of performance indicators, which Sunway Malls has also been tracking because of the work component. Can you tell us perhaps a little more in detail, like what kind of time do people actually spend their dwelling time while they're inside the mall, which may be related actually to the co-working spaces activity?
For Sunway's property, most of our development is an integrated model. It comes with shopping malls, commercial, office, residential, all this. So that's why as of today, we have two locations with work. One is at the Sunway Velocity 2 office building, and the other one is at our Sunway Putra Mall inside the mall. So it has been working very well because it helped to drive footfall, activate the underutilized space. And we can track because we do have this shoppers tracking system to track how many people coming in. And if I look at the performance of work in our property, currently I think the occupancy was quite good. I think above 88%, close to 90% is very full.
That is
In
very
fact,
promising.
yeah,
Good to
in
hear.
fact,
Good to hear.
and we are very happy because I think there's room for future expansion. For shopping malls, usually space is quite limited.
Yes.
So, but again, most of our integrated townships are actually well connected to office tower. So that also allowed the future expansion from mall to the office building. Yeah. And also our development is also very close to the transport hub.
LRT
So
hubs,
yeah,
etc.
so I think it's also one of the probably important factors for work to consider because it's very convenient for all these gig workers to come.
It's like how Ms. Bang said, it's an integrated development. So even though in the Sunway Velocity location, we are in their office space, we work with the mall side, her team at the mall, to have partnerships with the retailers over there to bring in the community both to the building, discounts for the food retailers, for our customers and so forth. So it's actually very, even in the way we work with each other as landlord and as a tenant, or a partner, it's very integrated in how we do business with each other.
Exactly, because it's also about shifting the idea around malls as a place to buy things, but also as a place that people just are at, place to be, right? So all of these value activators that a partner like work brings in, we're talking about the fact that you are able to have these kind of agreements with existing property owners who are already on board. What would be perhaps the value proposition to those who are more conservative when it comes to thinking about their empty retail spaces? But perhaps what would you pitch them if you wanted them to get on board?
Well, I mean, I think this is a test case to see whether it is something that is viable. And you've heard Ms. Pang said that there's expansion opportunity, which means it works. And we track that with, Sunway and our other existing landlords that we have this program with. And ultimately, what they see is the hard aspect and the soft aspect. The hard aspect is very simple. We increase the yield or the rental per square feet for them in that space by way of a kind of financial agreement that they, invest something into the space, but they expect to get a return that is above what they normally would get. So we would pay
because you're taking up a considerable amount of square footage as well.
Yes. At the same time, because you're also investing into the what it takes to build out that space, they expect to get sort of higher yield in a sense, and that's what we do give the landlord. So in terms of increasing the financial payback to them, that's an easy one. But at the same time as well, what they see is that we increase the footfall. And these are not just footfall being people going into the mall to spend money and use it. These are people who, once they're in there, they become friends, business connections. They actually have a whole localized community over there, which is very robust and help people become successful in their business. And that attracts the community in the vicinity to come to their mall, gives it a brand. This is where you go to meet people, like a rukun tetangga for businesses.
Sure.
And it doesn't just bring in local community, it brings in, I would say, from all four corners of the world. Because if you go to Miss Mang's mall, I say it's kind of her mall. She takes so much ownership. It's like her baby.
Very cosmopolitan,
Very
right?
cosmopolitan. It used to be. I hang out at that mall. I love that mall. And a lot of our team goes to that mall. And it's a mall that is really, really good for the local people who is wanting a whole range of experience at their price point as well. Nowadays, though, we see when we're in that space, we hear a lot of accents from all over the world in our space. And these are the digital nomads who have now discovered this mall as a place that they want to be and want to hang out in because there's a community there. So we are bringing the whole foreign international crowd into this space when it used to be super robust as a mall for the locals. And now there's a whole mix of another crowd, which is the digital nomads really love it. And I would like to call it like a mini Bali over there, with all these people like clacking and working, making income from other sources, but then calling it a home because of the trains, because of the eateries, because
but
of
still
all that
situated
stuff there.
spatially in Malaysia. Fantastic, Stephanie.
So probably I also would like to add on to this. I mean, actually, two more value that can be added from this is actually for the co-working workers or the entrepreneurs or professionals there. They will find our place is like they can find work-life balance because they can just after work they can just go down to the mall for karaoke or for movie and for dining, all these experiences. And one very important point is also in the mall we do have a lot of the pop and mom store, all these small retailers.
Who's been there for decades
they don't
sometimes.
have all this vast experience in all kind of functions. So they are very much focused on their sales activities. But today with all these online competitions, I think if they are not improving, their business will be struggling. So I think with the co-office spaces nearby, it actually can complement their business model. I mean, imagine this pub and mom store, if they don't know how to do social media marketing, they can actually find all this support from freelancers, all these small entrepreneurs where they can work together and grow their business. I think this is another ready, I would say the ready workforce available in a mall to support all these pub and mom retailers.
Yeah, footfall with connection.
Yeah. Footfall with connection. I love the idea of that. So thank you so much for the conversation so far. We take a very quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll come back with the rest of looking, of course, at reinventing Malaysia's commercial spaces in just a tick on Niaga Spotlight.
Uniform Tentera Darat Malaysia TADM bagi peserta program latihan khidmat negara tidak seharusnya menjadi isu hangat.
Jenayah penipuan pelaburan mencatatkan jumlah kerugian tertinggi pada tahun ini setakat 2 Februari lalu.
Kementerian Pendidikan memandang serius isu peningkatan trend penggunaan rokok elektronik.
Lembaga Lebuh Raya Malaysia LLM memperluaskan larangan kenderaan berat memasuki lebuh raya pada waktu puncak di beberapa jajaran terpilih di sekitar Lembah Kelam.
Welcome back to Niaga Spotlight, still with me, Tehmina Kaoosji. And today, of course, we are discussing a very pertinent topic in light of course, the Budget 2026 announcements, looking at Malaysia's office space reinvention, together with Stephanie Peng from Work and Pang Salian of Sunway Malls, Kuala Lumpur. So Pang, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into looking at operational alignment, when, of course, traditionally, the mix was more towards your stronghold, F&B, retail, entertainment, and that kind of lease stability. So what kind of SOPs or structures do you have in space now to ensure that it's still all aligned? even with newer, more invigorated leasehold tenants like work, for example?
Few things that we need to focus when we decided to work with the co-office space, because mall operate from 10 to 10. 12 hours a day. But for co-working space, I believe it's 24 hours.
24
Your members
hours.
may come back to office anytime.
And that's the hook, right?
Correct.
At least for the co-working spaces.
So that's why we have to look into the locations, the accessibility. So it will be ideal if we can have a direct access. That means for from the co-working office space, they don't need to go through. Their members don't have to go through the
Main
mall from
entrance.
car park to the mall, then go to their office space. If we can have a direct access, for example, the lift access from the external or from the car park directly to the space near the office, I think that would be ideal. Of course, also because of this odd working hours, so we can't provide the aircon system 24 hours. So what we need to do is we will advise work to have their own AHU units or their own aircon split unit system. So it will allow flexibility, because otherwise there will be a lot of wastage in terms of all this electricity. So other than that, it's like toilet have to be nearby so that they won't loiter around midnight, late night kind of things. Housekeeping, and also beside of all these operational things that we need to consider, another thing is very important is one is on the financial business model. A lot of time we work on revenue sharing. So we have to make sure that they do well so that we also can enjoy a better revenue. So we have to work together in terms of marketing collaborations, in terms of their branding, their signages in the mall. So we have to make sure that it's prominent so that people know how to go to them, go to their workspace, and we work together. So hopefully they can get 100% occupancy, and they also help us to improve our overall footfall.
Exactly. So actually a lot of thought goes into making it quite as seamless as it is for the end customer, who are the co-workers and then those who spill out into mall to access services. Stephanie, from there, I'd like to go into talking a little bit more about tenant mix as well and resilience. So the co-working world has also learned quite a lot. That it's really important to focus on more of a healthy mix. And given Work's now network of roughly about 10 or so outlets, what is your current occupancy and tenant mix breakdown, if you wouldn't mind giving us a snapshot?
Yeah. I mean, I think we started with the smaller companies. We started with actually a lot of startups, then we have a lot of freelancers, then we go, have a very strong base with SMEs. Currently, we have about 70%, we call it enterprises, which are large teams, large companies, and 30% SME. But I believe in the future, we will move back towards a 50-50% mix, with a lot of it being the smaller guys or smaller teams. And I think that's very robust because ultimately what we supply to a lot of landlords are the small teams and the small companies that otherwise they would not have as a tenant mix in their building. We're there to service. It takes a lot more servicing with the smaller teams and smaller companies. They want a huge community aspect, which we have. They want to meet people, they want to collaborate because they're smaller, they have less resources. So they tend to play off of each other and kind of band together to do businesses, deals and business together. So that's a lot of investment into the community aspect. And that's what makes them so loyal to us. But it takes a long time to build that community. Like even throughout COVID, when things were hard for that segment, we would financially help them and pour money back into the business so they would survive during that time. They thank us post-COVID by coming back to us because they have this loyalty to us now, which took many years to build. But that when we have this loyalty and this community, it brings more of them because they talk, there's word of mouth. And so when it comes to the smaller teams, I think that's a huge kind of segment for the landlords that they would like to service, but it's too much for them to do because they have a lot more that they have to worry about in their property. So having to just partner with us is an easy way to do it because the partnership is really seamless for the landlord. It's really one agreement, a very small budget of their enhancement plan or their renovation budget, and they get to have all the good stuff about our business, which is the spillover effect, the increased rental, but they don't need to do the headache, which is the work and the servicing and the business model of all that. And they basically get this business to be part of it, to make some money from it, and also all the spillover effects to their building. So it's kind of a no-brainer to enter in the new market for them and also have that stickiness in their building.
Exactly. And it was also interesting that you mentioned that you do foresee perhaps the enterprise mix will go down to a little lower so that it's a 50-50. So that does that also mean that you generally envision enterprises going back into more traditional office spaces?
So when I say percentage, I don't mean enterprise will come to us less. I just mean the whole pie of people using co-working spaces will increase, and the enterprise will increase, the SMEs will increase, but the percentage will probably swing back to 50% SMEs and 50% large companies, just because SMEs are such a strong base for us and are such a strong base for Malaysia's economy as well. Enterprises, of course, is amazing for us. After we have gone into SMEs, the enterprises came to us because they want to be near to the SMEs. They want to be near to all these little teams.
In a very non-traditional manner that actually speeds up work.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
From there, Pang, I'd love to actually have you discuss a little more in detail Sunway's live, learn, work, play model, because this is possibly one of the best ways in which it is actualized. Tell us more.
Yeah. Actually, the co-working spaces actually help us to support the work pillar that we mentioned just now. The live, learn, work and play. And the rest is actually they help us to fill up the entire ecosystem in a mall. How they do that? Because for example, like just like Sunway, is also part of our missions to nurture young entrepreneurship, like what Stephanie mentioned just now. We work closely with our Sunway University. We have iLab, we have X-Farm. All this is actually help to cultivate all this young entrepreneurship and also this creative or sustainable business idea. So what we did is actually we work together, and this is also aligned with our Sunway SDG commitment. Our commitment to the economic growth, especially on the gig economy and also the lifelong learning. Because through this collaboration, we actually work a lot on the learning program, especially on the digital innovations.
Absolutely. So it does seem like the way in which it has been planned out, it is bearing fruit in under 5 years. Which, of course, would you be looking to actually collating perhaps more pilot studies or even data that can then perhaps help inform other Sunway property decisions around the country and maybe not just restricted to Klang Valley?
Yes. I think if Stephanie work there willing to explore outside the Klang Valley, I think we will have a lot of business opportunity again. Right now in our Sunway malls, most of our malls occupancy already above 95%. Some is actually 99%, close to 100%. So that's why. But one thing is we do have the office tower, so we can work together. A small satellite node in the mall and the bigger office space in the office tower. This is something that we can work together in outside our Klang Valley property developments as well.
Yeah, I think when she mentioned partnerships, I think that's like really how we think of it. When we go into her building or any landlord's building, we start to take on the mindset that's our building as well. We have a sign there to tell everyone that we're there so that they come for meetings, for events. And then the success of that mall is really success, part of our success. And then we would have a lot of partnerships with the other retailers in order to have cross-functional, like, promotion and things like that. So really part of her community as well as she's part of our community.
Absolutely. And also then perhaps to land the conversation nicely, in conclusion, Stephanie, so also one of your differentiators as work is about upcycled co-working. Tell us a little more about this, especially within the context of all things green, sustainability, and the fact that even as a country, we're now even moving towards firm budgetary benefits and incentives for this arena.
Yeah. So, I mean, two things. One is on the ESG angle. we're on all the train lines and we've collected on the train lines. And the reason for this is definitely on the ESG angle, because people start taking trains to work now instead of cars. When we surveyed our customers, 50% of them has now started taking trains as their primary mode of transportation to work instead of cars. And a lot of people cite that the reason why they choose to be employed by the companies in our spaces is that they want to use the trains. So we're talking about a huge change in people's behavior, and not even about, the discussion of should we change from normal car to EV cars. I'm talking about getting cars off the road entirely. People walk to work, take the trains, and that's, I would say, is a very big driver of how the behavior of people will move towards an ESG kind of environment. The other thing would be that, especially with this site, with Miss Bang in Sunway Putra, it's an upcycled site in that sense. It was another space, and we did not do a lot of demolition work. We reused what was in there. We used the thought to kind of change and update the space to be what it is today. And as a result, we spent 70% less capital expenditure on the space, saving money, saving materials, and we made it into what it is today, which people appreciate, especially digital nomads really like that story.
It resonates, of course, with the overall sustainability element of work style.
That's
fantastic. Stephanie, as well as Pang, thank you so much for this most interesting conversation that helps actually anchor us around really new realities for the working crowd and also for those who are now frequenting malls. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Malaysia's office market isn't shrinking, it's actually shedding its old skin, and the winners will be those who are treating this space as an ecosystem, not just a standardized lease. Well, that's all we have time for today on Yak Spotlight with me, Tehmina Kaoosji, discussing the office space reinvention all around Malaysia. Here's to a productive week ahead.